Welcome, Gooners and football fanatics everywhere. Today, you're listening to the inaugural episode of the Arsenal Glazer, your new go-to podcast for insightful, no-holds-barred analysis of everything that happens at our beloved club. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into the season that just was, and perhaps more excitingly, the transfer window that's shaping up to be quite monumental. So grab a cup of coffee and settle in, because we've got a lot to unpack in the next 30 minutes. Let's kick things off with our season review. What a roller coaster of a season it's been. The emotional highs, the crushing lows, and a healthy dose of controversy. Arsenal started swimmingly with a 2-0 victory against wind-versed Wolves, featuring goals from Kai Havertz and the star boy, Bukayo Saka. This positive start was quickly overshadowed when the team faced Aston Villa away in an entertaining back-to-back affair, where substitute Leandro Trossard scored with his first touch of the game, offering a writ of redemption. However, this period of minor success was immediately followed by a devastating blow. The football gods gifted Arsenal with 3 injuries in training, sidelining Tomiyasu, Gabriel Jesus, and crucially, Mikel Merino, who had just signed 3 days before. After a trip to Tottenham and a dull performance versus Atalanta, which was attributed to Martin Odegaard's ankle injury from international break, came the highly anticipated match against Manchester City at the Etihad. City scored early, taking a 1-0 lead, but Arsenal quickly equalized through a Calafiori ripper and took the lead before halftime from a corner. However, Leandro Trossard received a controversial red in the second half, and Arteta's decision to play aggressively defensive again invited pressure, allowing City to equalize, which resulted in a 2-2 draw. Following 6 straight victories in various competitions, the season took another dire turn against Bournemouth, where William Saliba received a red card just 26 minutes in. With Odegaard still out, Arsenal lost 2-0. The daunting prospect of facing Liverpool next without their best defenders, Saliba and Odegaard, was met with a sarcastic yippee. Despite moments of hope, particularly from starboy Saka, and winning the set-piece game against Liverpool even without Saliba and Odegaard, the momentum was short-lived. Odegaard's return for the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge was desperately needed, as he made his mark with an assist within an hour. However, defensive lapses quickly undermined this, with a lack of tracking on Pedro Neto leading to a goal. Yet, Arsenal found a late winner through Trossard in stoppage time. Following that, there were some convincing victories, including a 3-0 win over Forest and the 5-1 destruction of Sporting. Ethan Nwaneri scored his first Premier League goal at 17, and Calafiori returned to the starting lineup. Gabriel Jesus' rejuvenation in the EFL Cup quarters offered a brief respite, leading to smashing through the glasshouse performance against Crystal Palace, scoring 5 goals with actual dynamic football chaos. However, the disappointment of Raheem Sterling being the backup for Arsenal's desperate need for a reliable option up front was emphasized. An abysmal loss to Newcastle in the EFL Cup semis meant Arsenal were out of every domestic cup competition yet again. The injury to Martinelli, described as a hamstring by blocking a shot, further crippled an already thin attack, leaving only 3 wingers. The desperate tactical experiment of playing 6-2 Mikel Merino up top against Leicester miraculously yielded a brace and saved them from embarrassment, leading to a hope that he could be a temporary solution for our striker problems. The performances against West Ham, which was a 1-0 loss, and Forest, a 0-0 draw, were described as utterly god-awful and hopeless. The Forest game, where Arsenal could have literally taken the day off and we still wouldn't have found a way to find the back of the net, especially with Saka gone and Odegaard playing like his FIFA 15 card due to injury. Despite the domestic woes, Arsenal had a remarkable Champions League campaign. They put 7 past PSV in the last 16, winning 9-3 on aggregate, even with no Saka, Martinelli, and Mikel Merino playing up top. This momentum carried into a league victory against Chelsea. The quarterfinal draw against Real Madrid was initially met with dread. However, the return of Bukayo Saka, who scored on his return just 7 minutes after being subbed on, brought a surge of hope. The first leg against Real Madrid was a stunning 3-0 victory at home. Despite Madrid looking like the bigger threat early on and Arsenal's backline being exposed, they held firm. Then, Declan Rice, who had never scored a free kick in his career, astonishingly scored 2 free kicks in 10 minutes. Just 4 minutes later, Mikel Merino scored a third from a moment of genius from Lewis Skelly, securing a historic 3-0 win against the reigning champions of Europe. The defense, particularly Saliba, Timber, and Kiwior, were praised for locking down the quote-unquote Brazilians. The second leg at the Bernabeu was preceded by a wave of remontada screams from Real Madrid fans and media, even involving a social media post asking ChatGPT to say 90 minutes at the Bernabeu is a very long time in multiple languages. Despite this pressure, Arsenal beat Madrid 2-1 in their very own stadium, with Martinelli scoring. This 5-1 aggregate win sent Arsenal into the Champions League semi-finals for the first time since 2009. It felt like we were finally going to win the Champions League. The semi-final against PSG proved to be the ultimate heartbreak. Early in the first leg, PSG created multiple dangerous chances. Arsenal eventually found a rhythm, with Saka creating a chance for Martinelli that just missed. A brilliant ball from Lewis Skelly set up Martinelli again, who missed a clear one-on-one chance against the keeper, leading to a frustrated outburst from many fans. However, from a set piece, Declan Rice delivered a picture-perfect ball to Mikel Merino, and Arsenal equalized, but that was ruled offside. Despite further chances, Arsenal's attack just fizzled out and died after an hour, with the most players performing poorly, likened to be under contract with Stoke City. The second leg saw Arsenal firing in all cylinders early, with Rice, Martinelli, and Saka all having chances, but Gianluigi Donnarumma in PSG's goal made brilliant saves. PSG eventually scored through Ruiz. A controversial moment arose when a potential penalty for Arsenal was checked by VAR, but then overturned. The resulting penalty was saved by David Raya. Arsenal eventually scored a consolation goal, but Saka missed another golden opportunity. The season ended with Arsenal going a 5th straight year with no trophy. The bitterness has been very evident recently, noting that Eddie Nketiah, after leaving Arsenal, won the FA Cup with Crystal Palace, and that Tottenham has a European trophy before Arteta. The overriding feeling for many, including some of our more vocal supporters, has been one of immense frustration and disappointment, essentially ending the season trophyless for the 5th straight year. There's a sentiment that the Premier League title was miles away by the end and that the team often felt hopeless. A significant part of the season's narrative has to be about the referees and controversial decisions that seem to plague us throughout the season. We have easily lost 10 to 13 points from referee decisions depending on how liberal you want to be. Against Wolves, Mosquera grabbed Havertz by the throat while he was on the floor and there was no punishment. In the 1-1 draw against Brighton, Veltman kicked the ball at Rice, then kicked him halfway up his shin. Rice then controversially received the second yellow for flicking the ball away, while Veltman went away with no punishment. Against City, Trossard received the second yellow for kicking the ball half a second after the whistle blew. Also in that City game, the ref added 7 minutes of injury time for City to equalize, despite the ball being in play far longer than in the first half when only 4 minutes were given. There was a moment against Leicester when Ndidi kicked the ball away on a yellow, yet no second yellow was given, unlike Rice's situation. In the Bournemouth 2-0 loss, Saliba received a yellow on the halfway line, which VAR decided to get involved in, a decision that felt inconsistent with other similar incidents. Lewis Skelly was controversially sent off against Wolves for a foul that's always been a yellow, a decision so bad that it had to be overturned post-match. He was then sent off again against West Ham for a foul after he had clearly been fouled first. Against Everton, a penalty was given for what was arguably not a foul and definitely outside the area. Also, O'Brien blocked Raya from releasing the ball twice while on a yellow, and the ref ignored it both times. These decisions, whether right or wrong, certainly added to the frustration and created a feeling among some that the team was being let on the entire time. Now, let's talk about the positives from the season, because there were certainly some bright spots amidst the gloom. First off, Miles Lewis-Skelly. What a breakthrough season for this young man. He signed a new long-term contract with the club on June 26, 2025. He became the latest Hill End Academy graduate to cement his position in the first-team squad, making 39 appearances in all competitions. His senior debut was in a 2-2 draw against Manchester City in September 2024, and he became the youngest player to start a Champions League fixture for Arsenal since 2011 in our 3-0 win against Monaco. He even scored his first Arsenal goal in the famous 5-1 win against Manchester City at Emirates Stadium. His contributions in the Champions League knockout rounds were significant, with 2 assists including setting up Mikel Merino's goal in the memorable 3-0 win against Real Madrid. He's even been called up to the senior England national team and scored on his debut. He's described as having Yaya Toure vibes, with his physicality and technical skill, and he's definitely one to watch for the future. Then, we have Ethan Nwaneri. At just 17 years old, he scored his first Premier League goal, showcasing his brilliant talent and a very high ceiling. His renewal is ongoing according to information from our query, which is crucial for securing his future given his immense potential. And of course, Declan Rice. He's proven to be worth every penny and more. His performances have been consistently excellent with inch-perfect passes and well-timed tackles. He's a player who can glide across the pitch and has been described as being more Brazilian than Martinelli in his play. His 2 free kicks against Real Madrid highlight his incredible ability and impact. He's been absolutely crucial from dead ball situations from us, especially from corners. He's truly a key cog in our midfield. Despite these positives, there were significant negatives that contributed to our struggles this season. The biggest one, repeatedly highlighted, was our attacking problems. There's a consensus that we badly need a new striker. The team's attack was often miserable to watch, lacking free-flowing football. We struggled to create anything against relegation candidates like Leicester and West Ham. This problem was exacerbated by the board's decision not to sign a striker, effectively making Kai Havertz a scapegoat. Individual player form also dipped. Martin Odegaard, after suffering an ankle injury during the international break, just can't connect on those signature passes and has gone from making us appreciate football to playing like Maximilian Meyer. Gabriel Martinelli was criticized for being one-dimensional, and Leandro Trossard, while having moments of brilliance, was also described as very up and down and inconsistent. We had too many draws against teams that we should have beaten, including Manchester United, Everton, Fulham, and Brighton, and we even bottled a 2-0 lead away against Villa. These dropped points were incredibly costly. Injuries played a significant role, but also the management of them. We suffered 3 injuries in training after the Aston Villa game: Tomiyasu, Jesus, and Mikel Merino. Bukayo Saka, our star boy, has played a gajillion games over the last few seasons, and there's real fear of him being overworked. Saliba and Gabriel also showed signs of fatigue. There's strong criticism of Mikel Arteta for his lack of proactiveness in making substitutions earlier and managing player conditions, seemingly exponentially contributing to player fatigue. The decision to play an injured Ben White leading to a longer-term injury was also called out. And finally, the board. There's a strong sentiment that the board is the Antichrist for not providing adequate support. Giving Saka a washed-up Raheem Sterling as a backup and not bringing in a proper striker were major points of contention. Selling Emile Smith-Rowe without a replacement was also seen as a poor decision. Even the controversial tifo displayed at matches was criticized with claims of AI-generated designs. This victimhood mentality and lack of accountability are seen as reasons for the team going trophyless again. Alright, let's pivot now to the transfer window, because this is where the future of Arsenal is truly being shaped. The activity, both in terms of renewals and new signings, has been incredibly significant. First, the contract renewals. It's vital to secure our key players for the long term. William Saliba. As we all know, Real Madrid have credible interest in him. Currently, his renewal is ongoing, according to the information provided in our query. Securing him would be massive for our defense. Gabriel. This one is done. Gabriel signed a new long-term contract with the club on June 6, 2025. Since arriving from Lille in September 2020, he's made 210 appearances, scoring 20 goals, and has become a key member of our defensive unit. He scored more Premier League goals than any other defender since joining us, and was even in the 2023-24 PFA Team of the Year. He's been a mainstay of a defense which has conceded the fewest goals in the last 2 Premier League seasons, and has expressed his happiness, hoping to win trophies with the club. This is fantastic news for our defensive stability. Bukayo Saka. Our star boy's renewal is currently ongoing. He is set for fresh contract talks as the Gunners' new sporting director, Andrea Berta, takes control. His current deal runs till 2027, so securing his future beyond that is a top priority. Leandro Trossard. His renewal is also ongoing. Trossard is in advanced talks over a new Arsenal deal, with all parties confident of reaching an agreement. His current deal runs until 2027, and while there is interest from Saudi Arabia, he has reportedly informed Arsenal that his priority is to stay at the Emirates. Andrea Berta has been leading these recent talks, and Trossard has been a key player for Arteta, with 123 appearances and 28 goals since arriving in 2023. Miles Lewis-Skelly. As we just discussed, his renewal is done. He signed a new long-term contract on June 26, 2025, which is a huge statement of intent from our academy talent. Ethan Nwaneri. His renewal is also ongoing, as stated in our query. Keeping hold of such a promising young talent is paramount for the club's future. Now, let's talk finances and the PSR situation. Reports from The Athletic indicate that Arsenal could afford to lose up to £97 million and could comfortably spend about £200 million this summer without any problems. This gives us a good indication of the club's financial health and transfer budget for this window. With that spending power, let's look at the outgoings first. A number of players who had been around since the early days of Mikel Arteta have departed or are expected to leave. Nuno Tavares has moved to Lazio for £7.5 million with a mandatory buy clause. We also have a sell-on fee for him, and there's been interest from Saudi Arabia in the recent days. Thomas Partey, Jorginho, and Kieran Tierney are all leaving on a free transfer. Partey's departure is particularly notable given his inconsistent availability and impact. Alexander Zinchenko is expected to leave. Albert Sambi-Lokonga, Fabio Vieira, and Reiss Nelson are all expected to be sold and or loaned out. Now, let's get into the interesting part, the signings. Firstly, we have Christian Nørgaard. Acquired for £9.5 million, a great fee for a quality squad depth player, Nørgaard was brought in as a backup defensive midfielder, specifically to deputize for Martin Zubimendi, who has been targeted as the starting number 6. Despite being 31 years old, Nørgaard is described as an absolute machine with an impressive engine. His physical prowess is highlighted by the fact that he topped the charts for distance covered in the previous season. This endurance suggests his capacity to thrive when games become stretched and transitional, enabling him to keep up with quick opponents. Nørgaard is considered a steady Eddie, comfortable in most phases of the game. His progression abilities are highly rated, placing him on par with current Arsenal players and targets like Agoum and Zubimendi. Brentford, his former club, reportedly gave him significant responsibility in the build-up phase, and his presence on the ball in most areas instilled a sense of security. Beyond his defensive and build-up contributions, Nørgaard possesses an intriguing attacking trait, the Mourinho trait of ghosting in the box. This involves anticipating where the ball will bounce to score, particularly from set-piece situations where he was a killer last season, scoring numerous goals with his head. His anticipation is deemed top and one of his best traits, allowing him to be a step ahead of opposition players despite not being the most athletic. Defensively, he excels at sitting in front of the backline, providing a vital shield. He is also given considerable freedom to press high, which aligns well with Arsenal's tactical approach of pressing high and pinning opposition players in their own half. He is comfortable in following opponents like Kovacic deep into their own box, and while not a world-class winner in these zones, he is comfortable enough. However, Nørgaard is not without his weaknesses. He can be very inconsistent in tight spaces and does not regularly come out on top when he needs to maintain possession under pressure. His game is not characterized by intricate play in crowded areas, having only his moments in such situations. Furthermore, he has a tendency to hook the ball into space, though this is possibly influenced by Brentford's style, which anticipates players being in specific zones. The element of pausa, the ability to pause and dictate play, does not come naturally to him. Second, Martin Zubimendi. Identified as the key replacement for Thomas Partey and the club's new starting number 6 or CDM, Martin Zubimendi comes with a £51 million release clause, which Arsenal plan to pay in installments, bringing the total to £55 million. Zubimendi has spent his entire career at Real Sociedad, making 236 appearances and scoring 10 goals. Despite his goal tally, he is primarily a defensive midfielder and not a goal scorer. Real Sociedad frequently utilized a 4-1-4-1 formation last season, with Zubimendi serving as the crucial pivot. His statistical performance in La Liga in the 2024-25 season was exceptional, ranking him in the top 5 among central midfielders for various key metrics: successful passes, successful long passes, progressive passes, touches, tackles, interceptions, aerial duels won, and distance of completed upfield passes. Spanish journalist Guillem Baleg provides further insight into Zubamendi's playing style. He notes that while Zubamendi's passing might sound simple, he generally makes excellent choices, rarely losing the ball. This ball retention is crucial for maintaining fluidity and team confidence. Baleg emphasizes Zubamendi's superior game reading, describing him as having the puzzle of the team in his head, even though he is without being the fastest midfielder. More recently, he has shown an increased willingness to drive with the ball and even get into the box, provided his teammates can cover for him. His primary responsibilities, however, lie in aiding build-up play, sometimes dropping to the level of the center backs, making the game fluid, finding players in space, pushing the team forward, and applying pressure when needed. Baleg also highlights his intelligence in decision-making, knowing where to go and when not to go, portraying him as a team player, a quiet leader, and a key cog in the machine. Next up, Kepa Arrizabalaga. Acquired for a modest £5 million, Kepa was signed as a backup goalkeeper, replacing Neo. His acquisition is seen as a quality move, especially considering his excellent season with Bournemouth. This transfer also had the added benefit of freeing up one of Arsenal's loan slot, which had previously been used for Neto. Fourth, we have Christian Mosquera. Christian Mosquera, with negotiations currently ongoing with Valencia at the time of writing, for a fee ranging from £17 million to £21 million, will be signed as a backup central defender. His development in the current season has been described as remarkable, having played over 3,000 minutes and established himself as one of the team's most valuable players. His impressive performances also earned him a call-up to the Spanish under-21 national squad, making his debut on March 21st, and he's expected to be part of the upcoming Olympic Games squad. On a technical level, Mosquera possesses great qualities to bring the ball out from the back. This is attributed to his good and reasonable decision-making and his wide range of passing. Tactically, he exhibits great intelligence and understanding of the game, a trait that is unusual for his young age. He is almost always well-positioned and rarely makes mistakes in reading the game during his interventions. Physically, his imposing size combined with great physical abilities such as speed, strength, and power, making him a central defender very well adapted to modern football. His attributes allowed the team to play with a forward defensive line and making him a valuable asset in open space runs, duels, and last-man situations. Next up, we have Jorel Hato, an 18-year-old Dutch center-back from Ajax, was a rumored target with a potential £45 million fee. His signing is considered contingent on Alexander Zinchenko's departure, highlighting his potential role as a backup center-back and left-back. Standing at 183 centimeters and weighing 76 kilograms, Hato is noted for his physicality, left-footedness, and versatility. Statistically, Hato excels in possession. He ranks in the top 25% of Eredivisie left center-backs for both passing volume and accuracy, and is in the 94th percentile of dribbling. Averaging 46.8 passes per 90 minutes with an 84.6 accuracy this season, he functions effectively as a first-phase recycler and an occasional deep creator. While not a frequent progressive passer, he still tallies 9.9 progressive passes per 90, ranking 6th among lateral defenders, though this is based on a small sample size of 196 minutes played. Hato's ability to create chances through long balls and deep completions is particularly notable, leading all lateral defenders with 5.4 deep completions per 90. In the 2024-25 season, he had already registered 1 goal and 2 assists, surpassing his previous season's total of 1 goal and 1 assist. His penetrative carries often originate deep in Ajax's half and conclude in the final third, showcasing his confidence and ability to break lines. However, his defensive game, though promising, is still developing. He wins just over 50% of his ground duels across various zones, but his aerial duel success rate is only 46.8% overall and a mere 37.1% inside the box, making him vulnerable in the air. Despite some positional lapses and inconsistencies in 1v1 defending, Hato's pressing, anticipation, and work rate suggest strong potential. With his technical ability and game-reading skills, he's considered a rising star. Perhaps the most critical area Arsenal sought to reinforce was the attack, particularly the striker position and a left winger. So let's get into the options for these two positions. First up, Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko was presented as the primary striker option, with the rumored price tag between £60 million and £70 million. He possesses a remarkable capacity to finish in various ways, demonstrated by his ability to score headed goals, left-footed goals, right-footed goals, long-range shots, and skillful finishes. This variety is deemed crucial for Arsenal, given that they frequently play against low blocks. Sesko is also considered to be in the top bracket for ball striking. His box movement is highlighted as particularly impressive for a young player, showing an understanding of how to bait defenders and make himself free. While not consistent yet, he demonstrates this ability frequently enough. His ability to make different movements to make space is top drawer stuff. Sesko's athleticism is incredible, allowing him to generate shots other strikers can only dream of. His ability to adjust his body quickly to take a shot, turning a half chance into an unbelievable shot, is also noted. The speed is getting shots off is key when playing against low blocks where crowded, tight spaces are common. He is described as very quick, placing him in the top bracket for strikers. One of his most underrated traits is his carrying ability, as he eats up the space with minimal fuzz. This powerful running would allow him to adapt to a transitional game easily. Furthermore, Sesko possesses an incredible leap, again placing him in the top bracket for center forwards. There have even been instances where he outjumped goalkeepers, with his jumping ability compared to Cristiano Ronaldo's famous viral header. This aerial prowess would help him thrive when Arsenal rely on long balls and crosses, a service that the team uses at times. Another often overlooked attribute is his good first touch. Despite potential inconsistencies in the subsequent action, he always manages to get the ball under his belt, which is vital for a center forward tasked with relieving pressure. This is impressive for a player of his stature standing at 6'5". Lastly, Sesko has a perfect penalty record, having scored 11 out of 11 in his career, suggesting a potential challenge to Bukayo Saka's penalty duties. Despite these numerous positives, Sesko is acknowledged as being quite raw. His weaknesses include poor shot selection. He can be so narrow-minded, often choosing to shoot even when a pass to a teammate like Nusa or to his left would be a better option. While it sometimes might work out, this is a common habit. Secondly, lack of venom, precision in shooting. He can be too focused on just hitting the target, resulting in lazy, sluggish shots. He needs to be more venomous and lethal, taking corners and sides. This is considered coachable under Arteta. The issue is linked to his well-known 1v1 misses like against Portugal or in the Bundesliga, where the problem is a lack of venom, no precision, despite being a top bracket ball striker. Poor anticipation of contact. Despite his 6'5" frame, he struggles to anticipate contact, making it too easy to take the ball off of him. He needs to use his body more, anticipate the contact is coming, using elbows and arms like the top center forwards do, which is also deemed very coachable due to his physical frame. Tendency to fall. He can be a bit of a faller, getting down at minor contact, often resulting in referees ignoring his attempts to buy a foul. He just needs to be stronger. Over-reliance on first-time flick skill passes. While these can look good, he overdoes it at times, possibly due to a lack of trust in himself and physical contact with center-backs. This is considered a bad habit, but also very coachable under Arteta. The common perception among Arsenal fans that he doesn't score enough is partly attributed to the system and the players around him. Leipzig players are seen as quite greedy, rarely squaring the ball to him for easy goals that strikers often stat pad. Furthermore, the Leipzig system positions Sesko very, very deep, requiring him to be on the last line, to be closer to goal and have more chances. His heat map against Bayern shows him positioned way too deep. Despite this, a comparison of his last 10 shots inside the box against Victor Gyökeres shows Sesko scoring at a better rate. While there are some poor efforts, the core problems of technique and precision are fixable. The key is getting him into the box consistently to become a killer. In terms of providing and creation, Sesko is not the best, and he's not expected to create many goals, but he does have a decent level of understanding of his teammates' whereabouts. His potential is described as exciting as it gets, with his 6'5" frame suggesting he can become a zone dominator with Arteta's training. He possesses qualities adaptable to any game state and a mentality that will take him very far. Victor Gyökeres is the second less favored striker option, with the price tag of £50 million to £60 million including add-ons, based on a gentleman's agreement with Sporting that seems to have been broken down according to reports from Fabrizio Romano. Gyökeres is characterized as one of the most dynamic and complete strikers in European football, thriving at Sporting CB. There are concerns, however, that this might not work out due to him playing in a weaker league in Liga Portugal. However, standing at 1.87 meters, he has a powerful athletic frame and is known for his intelligent movement, clinical finishing, and relentless pressing. He excels at making explosive runs in behind the defense, holding up play, and bullying defenders in 1v1 duels. His goal-scoring ability is amplified by his two-footedness, composure in front of goal, and versatility, allowing him to finish with power or finesse from various angles and situations. These attributes, compared with his physicality and intelligent positioning, make him a nightmare for high defensive lines and an asset in counterattacks. Gyökeres is also a strong presser with excellent stamina and tactical awareness, often forcing turnovers high up the pitch. However, his one massive flaw is his weakness in aerial duels, particularly his heading ability. Despite his height and physical build, he struggles to convert crosses into goals and isn't consistently dominant in the air, an area where he would typically be expected to shine as a center forward. This limitation reduces his threat from set pieces and as a traditional target man. Additionally, while his hold-up play is solid, his ball-playing ability and passing under pressure can still be erratic. Nevertheless, his overall impact, work rate, and scoring instincts make him a formidable striker with the potential to be one of Europe's elite, provided he improves his aerial presence and composure on the ball. Left winger option number 1, Rodrigo. With a rumored price tag of around £80 million and a global superstar, he's presented as the first option for the left wing position. He has often been the unsung hero of Real Madrid's star-studded attack, frequently overshadowed by more prominent names like Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., and Jude Bellingham. Despite this, his contributions are undeniable. He often operates out of position on the right, where cutting in forces him onto his weaker left foot. Yet, he remains a consistent and effective attacking threat. His goal per minute ratio, 1 every 136 minutes, is only slightly behind Vinicius and Bellingham, and his 113 goal involvements since his 2019 debut are only surpassed by Karim Benzema and Vinicius. He has also made Champions League history as the 4th youngest player to score 25 goals in the competition for a single club. Rodrigo's versatility and team-first mentality are suggested as reasons for his underappreciation. He sacrifices his preferred left-sided role to provide balance and defensive effort on the right, which is a rare trait for a forward in a team filled with Galacticos. Jude Bellingham himself reportedly called him the most talented player in the squad and praised his unselfishness. Despite a solid season of 14 goals and 8 assists, his contributions are frequently overshadowed. Crucially, Rodrigo is critical to Real's balance, capable of stressing defenses, making intelligent runs in behind, and linking play across the pitch. Left winger option number 2, Eberechi Eze. Eberechi Eze was the second option for the left wing, presented as a more financially attractive option, with a £60 million release clause, payable in 3 installments of £17 million plus add-ons, compared to Rodrigo's more expensive £80 million fee. Eze is highly praised for his elusive blend of flair, control, and work ethic, having completed more take-ons than nearly any other Premier League attacker last season. His success rate on dribbles and his defensive contributions surpassed those of Martinelli, Trossard, and even Real Madrid's Rodrigo, making a strong case for his all-around impact. With international experience and a playing style shaped by his cage football roots, Eze is seen as capable of bringing unpredictability and grit that Arsenal needs to evolve their attack and maintain their title ambitions. The decision ultimately rests on whether Arsenal would act on this interest. And that's a wrap for the first ever episode of the Arsenal Glazer. It's been a wild ride revisiting a season that gave us everything: ecstasy, heartbreak, hope, and a whole lot of what-ifs. We started the campaign with big dreams and even bigger moments: a stunning opening win, a thunderous Champions League run, and emerging stars like Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri showing that Hill and production line is still thriving. We saw Rice prove his worth 10 times over and had nights like the Real Madrid doubleheader that reminded us what Arsenal can be when everything just clicks. But let's not sugarcoat it. This was also a season of missed opportunities, brutal injuries, and serious questions about the direction of the squad. The failure to bring in a top-level striker, the continued over-reliance on Saka, and the inability to consistently break down low blocks all haunted us. There were too many games where we just didn't show up, and too many decisions on and off the pitch that left fans scratching their heads. The refereeing, don't even let me get started. From laughable red cards to bizarre VAR calls, the feeling of being let down by the officials became almost routine. That frustration, combined with the fifth straight season without a trophy, has taken its toll on the fan base. There's a sense of stagnation in some areas, and unless the board backs Arteta with serious firepower this summer, the risk of falling behind is very real. But there are reasons to be optimistic. Potential renewals for Saliba and Saka, as well as completed renewals of Gabriel and Lewis Skelly, give us stability. The potential arrival of players like Zubamendi, Sesko, and maybe even Rodrigo or Eze could inject fresh energy and unpredictability into the attack. With the PSR situation under control and a possible £200 million to spend, the club is well positioned to reshape the squad into a true title challenger, if the right moves are made. At its core, this season reminded us of one thing. Arsenal are close. Not perfect, not polished, but close. One or two smart signings, a bit of luck with injuries, some actual squad depth, and we might just finally turn all this potential into silverware. So as we head into a crucial summer transfer window, the question now is simple. Will Arsenal act like a club ready to win big, or continue playing it safe? Thanks for joining me on this debut episode. If you stuck around this long, you're a real one. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your fellow Gooners, and follow the Arsenal Glazer for all the latest rants, rumors, and real talk about our beloved club. We'll be back soon to break down transfers, tactics, and everything in between. Until then, stay hopeful, stay passionate, and as always, up the Arsenal. These episodes take a lot of time to put together, from planning and researching to recording, editing, and getting everything ready to go live. So if you've been enjoying the show, please take a second to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and never miss an upload. And if you want even more Arsenal news, updates, and behind-the-scenes takes, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Just search the Arsenal Glazer. Catch you next time.